Uno one. Excellent. Hey. Love sales, hate selling crew. As promised to you earlier today, I have the man himself, the podcast king, Pete Morgan, who's joined us. I'm so chuffed to have Pete on here. Me and Pete, we go back a couple of years now. We met through the
Yeah, it
forum.
is.
And Pete's a good guy. He's one of those good guys. Them good people who, you just every time you think of him, you just smile. Well, that's what Pete is. So, hi, Pete. Thanks
Hello. Hi, guys. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Obviously, the world's a crazy place right now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things going on. It's just scary, man. So I think a lot of people are going through a wide range of emotions, myself included. I've got to be honest. I've had days where I wanted to shout and days where I wanted to cry. Even this morning, I felt like crying. I had a crying time this morning, just completely distraught about what's going on. And, I had a tear in my eye. I had to brush it off the phone, man, before I blurted out and, showed that I was human as well. So it's like, but yeah, Pete. So yeah, this is the Love Sales Hate Selling interview. What we do is we interview a business owner like yourself and just kind of find out a little bit more about you and what you do and why you do it and your inspiration. So I just wanted to crack on and get on with the questions. So first question to you, Pete, is tell us, even though I've announced you as the king of, what do you do for a business?
Well, the business is Monkey Pants Productions. There's the little logo thing there. And what we do is we help people get into podcasting. We either whether it's through kind of courses, online courses or workshops or Facebook Lives or, anything like that.
Yeah.
Or at the other end, we do podcast production, whether it is we just edit the audio you send us or we actually come to you and record it and then edit it and produce it, publish it, get it on Apple and Google and Spotify and Stitcher. And we also market some podcasts as well for a couple of clients who just to get it out to a wider world, really. So if it's to do with podcasting, we do it, really. That's what the business does.
Brilliant. You mentioned marketing. Obviously, I don't need to tell me all your little secret tricks, but is there anything that you recommend to anybody in the group in terms of the marketing that you do for your podcast? Because I imagine there's some similarities in terms of channels and things. Where do you
I mean, there is. You've got to know where the audience that you're pitching to is. Where are they hanging out? Instagram is a huge podcasting platform anyway. So
Instagram.
Whether or not, there's so much of the podcasting community on Instagram.
And is that like just the audio side or like the video side as well?
Yeah, I mean they'll do, because a lot of podcasts, certainly the high end ones, video it as well. So Joe Rogan, which is one of the world's biggest podcasts, Gary V, they always video as well as do audio. And the thing to do is not to, if you're being video, don't call attention to the video, because if you're listening to it as a podcast, you don't want to feel like you're
missing out on something.
Yeah. You don't want to feel like you're second best.
What's he doing with his hands? I can't see his hands. What is he doing? That'd make him happy.
So Instagram is one. Twitter and Reddit is another one. Where there's some really good podcasting subreddits that you can get on and kind of talk about your podcast as well. So those are the ones. But it's creating, certainly when you're starting your podcast, and for the first 6 months, it is that thin line between letting people know you exist and nagging. It really is. You can't just post about it kind of just once a week and hope people, find it. Yeah. You've got to be on it and on it and on it. So like on Twitter, you've got to be looking at least 5 times a day just to tell. And it's fine to just put the same tweet out or a variation on the same tweet. Just put it out there. And the only other thing I always say with the marketing is, if you're telling someone about your podcast, put a link to the podcast as well in the post. Don't say to people, hey, we've got this great podcast. We've got Nigel Campbell on this episode of the podcast. He's fantastic. If you go to Apple and search for XXX, no, I don't want to go to Apple and search for it. I want to click on a link and I want to listen to it.
Yeah. And that's the thing, you see, people kind of forget that we live in an instant society where we want to have the answer as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
The moment you put friction in front of me and ask me to do something, like type something in or remember an email address, you've lost me, mate.
Absolutely.
So that's brilliant. I mean, guys, if you're listening, there's some seriously sexy tips there. I mean, you know, I am going to play this. This is going to go on my YouTube channel. Seriously, that part about the marketing, you want to go back to that section and listen to it and then listen to it again, because what Pete says is right. You know, he talks about it being nagging. It's not nagging, it's consistency.
Yeah.
If you're consistent, guess what happens? People start to take notice. If you post once a week, guess what? Don't be surprised if you don't get anything or much of anything. Brilliant. So, Pete, what inspired you to start the business?
It was, so in a previous life, I was a full-time radio presenter and producer.
Boom, celebrity on Love Sounds Hate Selling. Oh,
really not. Really not.
You are, mate. I'm going to do a search. I'm going to do a search on Google for you later and put all your pictures in there.
Really don't. And I just worked at various places, North Wales, Bournemouth, Brighton, just wherever. When you're a freelance radio presenter, you just go where the work takes you. Wow. And then for the last, in 2007, I started working for the BBC, which was brilliant. And I was doing a breakfast show. And I was off over Christmas between 2016 and 2017. And it was just that contemplative, kind of reflective time. And I was thinking, so in 2017, I turned 45. And I thought, so what do we do?
You lie.
I turned 25 and
45. Get off, mate. Who are you kidding? Hey, sell your secret.
Exactly. Loads of chocolate. That's apparently is the secret.
Excellent.
Chocolate and booze. And I just thought, what do we do? I don't want to get to 50 and think I wish I'd have tried something.
Yes.
Because I was secure in what I was doing as a radio presenter and I felt confident doing a radio show.
Yeah.
There was nothing out of my comfort zone that I was doing or had been doing for some time. So I thought, right, well, let's just start. What do we do? And it was a conversation with a good friend of mine, a guy called Chris Farrell, who, if you can find him, this incredibly motivational, inspirational bloke who just said...
I used to be on one of his email lists, actually.
Yeah.
He's an old internet marketer from way back when, isn't he?
He is. I mean, and again, way back when, he was a full-time radio presenter.
Oh, wow.
I started out reading his travel. That's how Chris and I first met.
Oh, my God.
He now lives in California. Yeah. And we were talking over that Christmas period, and he said, why don't you start telling people about podcasts, because you love them? And that was it, really. And it was like, yeah, I think that's what we're going to do. So that's brilliant. The beginning of 2017
have taken something, a hobby, a passion, and turned it into a business.
Yeah, absolutely. It was it was just deciding, right, okay. And again, this, and I'm sure we'll come back to this, I was completely green about starting my own business and what do we do and how do we start it. So my first thing was to just start emailing companies and going, hey, do you want me to make a podcast for you? And it was actually my wife who was saying, well, they don't know who you are. They don't know what's going on. They don't know, so it really was starting from a stock still start. I was right from the very beginning. We did not hit the ground running in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Are you hearing this, guys? This is why marketing's important. Yeah. Emailing companies. What did your wife suggest to do other than emailing companies?
It was actually, why don't you start your own podcast? Then learn about it, know about it, so then you can use you can take that, because at the time I had knowledge and experience regarding what sounded good and how to make something sound good and engaging and connect with people and build this tribe that respond to what you're saying. But the technical side of making a podcast, so the kind of publishing of it and the that side, I'd not done. So
Right.
I started a podcast about, and I wanted to pick something that I knew was going to be universal and I knew would get traction relatively quickly. So I actually chose our dogs. So we had, and the podcast is still available. I don't make it anymore.
Oh.
But there's 83 episodes of the Puppy Podcast, which is
Wow.
out there. So if you're getting a dog, getting a puppy, do listen to that, and
That's
you will
brilliant.
hear, I cry in one of the episodes. I'm laughing my head off because the frustration of trying to train this. It was a new puppy and our second dog. So it was kind of balancing those two things. So and I just learned as I went with that, and then that kind of reflected in learning as we were going with the business as well.
That's brilliant. It was just something I wanted to touch on there, what you said between Christmas, September 2017 to Christmas 2017, or when you was off work, should I say?
Yeah, it was into 16 into 17.
Got you. And you had a reflective moment where you kind of looked at yourself and thought, what's all this about? What's all this about? And I think it's so relevant to now because again, something I've been banging on with a lot of business owners is, yes, we're in a tough time right now, but use it to reflect, use it to make your business stronger, better, faster, leaner. Use it to look at ways that you can make things easier, because we are going to come out of this. And like every other time that I've been alive where we've had a downturn, which has normally been something simple like a recession, you always find that when we come out of it, some people accelerate into the distance because they've put the things in place now, whereas others literally that's it, that's the end of it, that's the end of their empire. So I think definitely a key lesson from the inspiration for yourself is that reflection, examine what you're doing. Is it good? Could you make it better? Could you make it quicker? Could you make it cheaper? But yeah, that's a really good bit of advice you've got there, Pete. So I'll definitely be putting that in the notes afterwards. So, sir, challenges. Tell us some of the challenges you've had to overcome. Oh my God. This is supposed to be a 15-minute interview.
I mean, this is the thing. It was, I think the biggest. So when I said we began from an absolute standing start. Previously, when I was a radio presenter, which I'd been for, kind of 10 years, and then I was a producer for a bit, and then stuff like that. But so I'd done nothing but present for 10 years.
Yeah.
I had two jobs. That was to open the microphone and be entertaining and or informative.
Okay.
And that was it. That was my job. And to go from that to, right, okay, so you have to be your sales team. You've got to be your marketing team. You've got to be your social media manager. You've got to be your HR person. You've got to be your, to some degree, your bookkeeper. All of that was really overwhelming.
Yes, I imagine.
And took me a long time to kind of come to grips with. And it really has only been recently that I've realized that it's the division of my to-do list. So my to-do list was literally everything I needed to do. Which was too much. There was like 15 things on it. And I'd write it before I finished the day.
I feel your pain. I feel your pain, mate. Mine's organic. As soon as I've started to do one or two, number 4 appear at the bottom.
So what I do now is I have a long-term to-do list.
Yes.
Of right, okay, I want to do a demo for that prospective client. I want to clean the bookshelf behind us. I want to, but those kind of things. And then my daily one is this needs editing, that needs producing. You need to do this bit of social media.
So you got a process.
Exactly. And it's dividing up my time. And that took a long time. So like Mondays, I mean, obviously I'm not leaving the house at all at the moment. But
even me, mate. Even me.
Exactly. But normally on a Monday, I don't leave the house. Everything is desk based on a Monday. So I don't take appointments on a Monday. I don't go out on a Monday. Monday is right. I do this. I do business development. I do my accounts. And that's Monday done. And then Tuesday I can. So it is just kind of apportioning times of the week of right. That is when I do my business development. That is when I do the my zero updates. That is when I'm looking at doing something with the online course. You absolutely get, in the same way you give yourself appointments in your diary for meeting people or doing things like this. You put appointments in your diary for kind of certainly broader tasks. That was one of the big kind of challenges that I learned of just sorting out my time. And I think the other challenge was networking. I've never done it before, because when I was a radio presenter, and there is a very, very low level of celebrity involved, but it's very, very low level.
You'll always be a celeb to me, Pete Morgan. You'll always be a celeb to me. Hey man, you're my celebrity. You're my celebrity.
That'll do. I'll take it. So there was no networking, because you were always invited to things where people knew who you were. So you never had to walk up and go, "Hi, this is who I am. This is what I do." And I found networking incredibly difficult initially. One, because I'm quite shy anyway, and I find it hard to go up to people and go, "Hey, I'm this." And the other thing was that when I started networking, is every one-to-one, every sit down, in my mind was, how can I get this person to give me money? And that was, it took a while to realize that that's not what networking is specifically. And in fact, I tell you it is, and you've had her on, but it was Fritha Stuttard.
Not yet. I'm trying to get hold of Fritha.
Yeah, well, believe me, she's back. I'm with her on Wednesday night on her Facebook Live group. We're going to talk podcasting on that.
Give her my regards.
I will do. But she was the one who said networking, it's just relationships. That's all you're doing. You're just starting relationships. So it's those kind of things. But probably the biggest challenge was rates. How much do I charge? Money was a conversation I had once a year, once every 2 years with my boss. They'd go, "This is what we're going to pay you." I'd go, "Yeah, all right, sounds great, fantastic. Another 2 years of work, brilliant." But now it was like, it was having to say, "This is my worth," and this is what, and not having any kind of yardstick to work from. To kind of go, okay, so this is what I charge for doing this, and this is what I'll charge for doing this. That was the biggest challenge, to sit down and sticking to it as well. That's been incredibly hard.
I know what you business owners are like when it comes to someone saying no to your first price. Okay, man. Exactly. Don't give up so easily, man. So, do you feel that you've got your rates where they need to be now?
Almost.
Okay. I know you're competitively priced, mate. So anybody who's going to ask afterwards about podcasting, I know that the price is very, very
I think we're probably, because obviously nationally there's plenty of people that do what I do. Locally, as in the West Midlands, there really isn't that many. I am just below average for what I do and the services I provide. That's kind of where we are at the moment.
And I'm going to say to you guys, even though Pete is underselling himself here, whatever price he quotes you is probably at least 50% less than what he should be quoting you. So if you do take the opportunity to speak to Pete, bite his hand off at the first price he gives you, because you are getting a bargain. Simple as that. He's a celeb. He's not going to tell you, but I will. He's a celeb. So
I do know. So we launched an online course at the beginning of the year. Which it's called Your Podcast from Planning to Publishing. And we did that. The first thing that we do, and depending on who you speak to, something is a good thing, something is a bad thing. We launch it with a discount.
Right.
And we're keeping it at the discount for the time being, while this incredibly unusual situation kind of takes its course.
Yeah.
So that is absolutely underpriced. I know that's underpriced. Because it is a discounted price anyway.
Yeah.
So
Well, one of the things that's nice about that though, someone comes into your greenhouse, if you like, as a customer at the early stages. Chances are we're going to need your support ongoing. Once this crisis changes, that's where you maybe get back some of that discounted price that you've put in at the beginning. Where you're adding extra value, then you're paying for that extra value. And that's where you make
absolutely. And that's why I created the course for passive income.
Yes.
I've created it for a global audience, and I've there was a lot of effort that went into it, which is dictated in the price, but I don't need to do anything to it now. I check in with it every few weeks just to make sure that all the information is as up to date as it can be.
Brilliant.
But it's just left to do what it does.
So hear that, guys. Pete Morgan has created his passive income system. So again, no one person has all the answers, but most certainly, if passive income is an area that you're looking to push, this is the guy who's doing it at the moment. Yes, he's very busy, but if you ask him nicely and give him plenty of notice, he may well give you some of his time just to kind of, talk you through some of the things that you need to consider if you're looking to generate passive income. That's brilliant. That is, Pete. I tell you what, mate, you've come a long way, man.
I know.
Hey, I feel like a father. I'm so proud of you, son. I'm so proud of you.
You should be, man. You should be.
Right. So, what advice would you give somebody if they were looking to start a podcast right now for their business? What would be like a couple of tips that you'd give somebody right now?
The first one is don't settle. There's a lot of business podcasts that I hear that are recorded on a phone or recorded using the microphone that's built into your laptop. And whilst that's okay for, these kind of things and Zoom calls and Skype and stuff like that, to talk to a global audience, you need quality. And in the same way, if you were launching your new website, you wouldn't settle for something that was on GeoCities back in the early 90s.
Mate, you're giving away your age now. Remember, you're 25.
Yeah.
25.
Sorry.
GeoCities, what's that? I know what it is. You should know what it is. You're too young.
But those kind of flashing GIFs and stuff like that, you wouldn't do that with your website. So why would you do it with your podcast? And the other things I would say is your microphone is going to be your biggest and your best investment, but you can get a good one for that's the Snowball, isn't it? The Blue Yeti. Yeah, they are a brilliant microphone.
It's crap for singing with, though, mate. I've tried singing with it. It doesn't make me sound any better at all.
It's a really good microphone, but you can get a good one for about £100. It doesn't have to cost the earth, to get a decent microphone. And the other thing is have a plan, but don't plan too much. So again, I mentioned Chris Farrell. He started a podcast, and it took him 2 years before he put his first episode out because he just planned it.
Planning.
He planned it, and it was just wrong.
I think
it was a decent podcast, but he's only done a few episodes of it.
Yeah. I think what you find is that some people, it's all about perfection, and it's best to launch something rather than wait for perfection to launch, because you're missing up every single day. You're missing an opportunity. It doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
And move forward. Take the chance. Take the plunge.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Just do it and learn as you go. And if your content is good, people will come back to it and stick to it. And the only other thing, I knew there was going to be a couple of tips. The only other thing is, if you're doing a business podcast, do not just make it a big ad. If you make it a big ad, people won't listen. There's got to be value. I've got to get people listen to podcasts for one reason and one reason only. It's because it makes their life better in some small way. So how are you going to make my life better? And why am I going to come back and listen to the next episode? So I need to be getting something out of it.
Yes.
And then all you're looking to do is build that relationship and build that tribe that I was talking about earlier on.
Yeah.
You know, that's in the same way you don't start a website to get more clients. You don't start a podcast to get more clients. It's just part of a bigger,
it's part of a
kind
bigger
of strategy, your marketing strategy.
Yeah. So it's another marketing channel for you to utilize. And one thing I say, guys, one of the big problems with a lot of small business owners and some larger companies is that they only market their business through one or two channels.
Yeah.
You know, there are hundreds of different ways to market your business. At any one time, most people settle on one or two. You know, if you're making money from marketing on one or two channels, what would happen if you was to market on 8 channels? And it hasn't got to be hard work, has it, Pete? You can kind of set
not at
things
all.
up.
I mean, you know, I use a scheduler for doing some of the social media stuff that I do. So I use Buffer. I know Hootsuite's out there, or what, you know, whatever you use, and that makes it incredibly easy to get your stuff out there. And it's just, you're selling yourself. That no matter how big the company is, you're selling kind of yourself in a way. And it is that thing of people buy from people.
They certainly do, mate. They certainly do, which is why my phone, is definitely it sounds. I've actually had the last 3 Sundays, I've actually picked up customers on a Sunday. It's like, what's going on? I think that's the only time they read my post on a Sunday. God knows why. Last question, sir. I'm going to let you go because we have gone a little bit longer than I normally would. I think my previous 2 business owners are going to have my blood because I didn't give them this long. But hey, you can talk, man. You're like me. You're a kindred spirit.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Is there anything that the Love Sales Hate Selling group, you know, can do for you right now? Is there what kind of support are you looking for? How can we support Pete Morgan moving forward?
I think it's at the start. It's liking the Facebook page. So Monkey Pants Productions with Pete Morgan, and genuinely looking at podcasting as something to do for your business. So that's the big thing. You know, I've got so many resources for people who are interested in it, and so many packages depending on how much help you need or don't need to get started. And all of them can be, you know, none of them need face-to-face interaction. All of it can be done online. It's one of there isn't many upsides to this situation that we find ourselves in at the moment, but getting into podcasting is one of them. And the fact that you can, and that you don't need, you know, to kind of go out anywhere to do it.
I mean, Pete, you've come out with some really, really great advice today. And most certainly I'm going to be having words with you over the next week or so regarding the passive stuff you're doing, because that's really where a lot of people want to go that way, and I think it can be a difficult area. But obviously, someone like yourself who's doing it now, you almost have created your own another business side, because if you think about it, you can advise people on creating passive income. Boom. And there's another product for you, sir. I only take a small commission, sir, so it's not too much. Right, so we're going to wrap up now. This has been Pete Morgan, the podcast king on Love Sales Hate Selling. I hope you guys have really enjoyed this. I'm going to save it. I'm going to repurpose it. I'm going to put front and back titles on there and blow it up and make it all sexy. It'll go on my YouTube channel later on. But Peter, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. It's been good to catch up with you. It's actually felt like you've been in the room with me, because this is what we're like when we're together anyway. So
absolutely.
You know, really powerful this is, guys. If you're missing human interaction, do a video call, do a Zoom call, you know, share some jokes. You ain't got to just talk about business, talk about anything, but you know, you've made my day, mate, and I really feel that you're going to put a string in my set for the rest of the week. So
thanks, man.
Thank you very much.
You are always so good, and indeed, you were one of the people when I started networking. You were very good with the advice and the tips and the mentoring that you gave us, just to kind of get us going and just kind of lift us up a little bit. It really meant a lot in those early days. Now,
brilliant, mate. And that's what I'm all about. I mean, it's never about me. It's about everybody else. So always remember that. It's always about everybody else. Sir, have yourself a wonderful day.
As well.
If that admin becomes a little bit overwhelming for you in the future, I know an absolutely excellent VA.
Brilliant.
Who's not even a VA, she's more like a right arm, because like she's my mind, but she's bloody brilliant, mate. And trust me, yeah, she'll save you lots of time. But listen, have a wonderful day, mate, and I look forward to catching up with you very soon.
Yeah.
Thanks, Pete. Take care. Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye now. Bye.